Begin a mistake that you might make in the Etheria global launch. The first one is to build every single SSR that you get your hands on, even though you don't have the resources to. And the resources I'm talking about is the perfect lattice. That is going to be the material to level up your unit skill. And you do get a lot of the lattice for the SR character, not the SSR. The one to skill up the SSR is going to be way rarer, and you have to play the game to earn through various PvE mode, and that's gonna take a lot of time. However, they will give you a decent amount of SR lattice to skill up your SR character. And a max skill SR character will probably have more speed because you have speed from skilling up the character's skill level, and you also have lower cooldown. And lower cooldown means better support, better damage output for so many different characters. You can build like 1 to 2 SSR character in the early game, but you can build like 3 to 4 SR character, and they're gonna carry you so hard in the early to mid game PvE progression, and that's the goal for pretty much everybody in the early game. However, I'm not saying that the SR will be like super strong forever. Of course, in the mid to late game, the SSR that's gonna be more relevant in PvP with max skill is gonna dominate later on, but not right now. Be patient, you might be very lucky and pull a whole lot of SSR. You wanna use a full team of SSR, but then you're gonna be stuck really soon because all those characters with no skill up and also not PvE friendly might not carry you very far in the early game. And to know which character to build, I have so many videos on my channel. You can watch them after you finish watching this one, okay? And the second mistake is to 6-star a support character, especially those that land debuff on the enemy or heal your team based on their max HP. So that's what I did in the previous final test. I 6-star support character that pretty much did the same thing at 6-star compared to when they were 5-star. However, when I 6-star a damage character, they did way more damage, or if I 6-star a bruiser like Tiamat or Hellkit, their shield also became so much better. But don't 6-star a support character that can do the same job at 5-star. The startup requirement and material can be quite challenging for the early game player. We don't get a whole lot of shadow print in the early game, so you want to use that on the character that can actually matter, which are usually the damage dealer. They can do more damage, become tankier, avoid getting one shot from bosses, and once again do way more damage. Number 3 is going to be about summoning. So if you don't want Freya, if you don't want Messiah, which are the 2 first banner of the game, you don't have to summon on their banner at all. You can throw a couple summon here and there on the banner at the end of the banner date. So see if you get lucky and get them, but you don't have to do that immediately in the first day of the game. Contrary to other gacha game, the banner is not super important. The permanent banner actually have a chance to give you the rarer unit and the wider box, allowing you to build different kind of team. And after playing in so many beta tests and PvP tournament, I can really say that without Freya and without Messiah, you're gonna be just fine. You don't have to feel FOMO about not joining on the first banner. It's kind of weird that the banner is not like super crazy. You don't need them for any particular content. It doesn't mean that they're not good. They're good, but they're not required to play a certain content in the game. You can clear the entire PvE catalog without Freya, without Messiah. So don't feel the need to go and spend $100 or $300 to get these units from the banner. You will not feel left out in the future. Don't worry too much about it, okay? Don't stress it out. Play the game free to play first. And also, you can get Freya and Messiah in the permanent standard banner, and they are not limited. They are still and will be in the permanent banner in the future. So even in the future banner that maybe you don't like the future banner, you summon on the permanent banner because you feel like summoning, you can still get your hands on Freya and Messiah randomly out of nowhere. Tip number 3 is also about summoning. You can save your target summon, which is going to be the guarantee SSR, the beginner banner that usually everybody dump their summon on in the early game because the pity is way lower. You get your first SSR after like 40 summon, and you can choose exactly what you want. But that is not something that you need to do in the early game. Once again, the early game part is not extra difficult. You don't need an SSR to carry you through the game. They give you one free AoE damage dealer SSR to be your main damage dealer for like the first couple of days. So you can play the game for like a whole week. You summon with the coupon, the creator code. By the way, there's a code down below for myself as well. You can just keep summoning, playing the game, and then by the day 7, you now learn the basic of the game. You know what your account is lacking. You know what you want to go towards to, what dungeon you want to farm, what kind of element is missing in your box to build a very well-rounded box to be future-proof. Then you choose. Then you know what you're doing. Then you're not choosing a unit because of hype. You're not choosing a unit because a YouTuber told you to do so, like me or many other content creator. You choose a unit because you freaking understand the game and you know what you're lacking, and now you're making a very informed choice. Another tip about summoning is letting the game fill up on the missing summon when you hit the 10 pool. So whenever you go into the summoning banner, you will potentially hit the 10 pool because that is like your habit, and the game will prompt to fill up the missing summon with, let's say, 500 gem for 5 summon. That is not a very efficient way of buying summon. If you go to the shop, you can see that there's the weekly summoning pack, which is not supposed to be like crazy value anyway, but it is slightly cheaper than buying the summon using the game auto feature. So if you really want to summon and you're the kind of guy that want to save a summon every single week, you should buy the weekly pack with gem that provide you with summon, because it is relatively cheaper compared to letting the game fill up the summon for you. But then I'll talk about that later. It's cheaper, but still, if you're free to play, you're low spender, should you really do that? Now let's go to the gameplay part. Upgrading the early game model to plus 15 is gonna be a waste of money. And I think that's gonna be very obvious with every game out there. I swear every time I watch an early game mistake for every new gacha game, there's gonna be this. Don't upgrade the early game shit. They are going to be shit. You're gonna ditch them, recycle them, burn them very, very quickly. So don't do that, okay? But you can plus 9 them. If you really need a stat, you feel like, oh my god, my unit is so squishy, and if I did a bit more damage here, I could have passed that stage. Then you can plus 9 them. Go from plus 0 to plus 9 is not that expensive, and you get a whole lot of value from going from plus 0 to plus 9. You might get a bit more substat, you might upgrade your current substat, and you get a decent value from the left and the right side gear. For the right side gear, you can go for the percentage HP, attack, and defense. That's gonna keep you alive way better. If you have like a defense buffer, you don't even need to go for defense percent. Just go for like HP and attack percent, depending on what kind of character you are building. Damage dealer, attack percent, HP is gonna be for tank and support. I think that's pretty obvious. And also in this game, there's going to be the weapon system called the shell system or the pet system. So they're gonna give you more stat, they're gonna give you a passive effect, they're gonna give you an active skill, very cool feature, and they will have the early game shell and the mid game shell and the end game shell as well. The early game shell, you can build 1 or 2. You can even maybe max the map you feel like because you like the utility. However, once again, you will ditch the early game shell very, very quickly. The moment you get to the yellow color shell, those are the ones that might stay on your account a little bit longer, maybe for a week or 2. Those are a bit more worth it to invest in. However, the biggest mistake in this area is you'll be tempted to reconfigure the passive effect of the shell you're using. When you use these shell, you can reconfigure and change the substat of the shell to the other substat. However, it's gonna get expensive very, very quickly. And if you invest those into the yellow shell or below too much, then you will not have the currency to do that on the end game shell that you get access to after like a week or 2 of playing. You will start farming the end game shell, and you need the currency to reroll the substat on the end game shell. And it gets really expensive. So don't throw all your currency away. You might feel like you have a lot, but you don't. Trust me. Another one is to use the stamina pot immediately. For the people who rush the game, I know you might want to use all your stamina pot immediately in the first week to get as far as possible. However, in the closed beta, after the first week, they threw at us an X2 drop event on the EXP, on the outpost, and on the module dungeon, which is insane because farming module in this game, there's a chance that you might drop 3 module in one run. That is really mind-blowing. So with the X2 drop event, you can drop 6 module in one run. And if you happen to drop a summon or maybe gem from your run, that is getting double as well. So the double event from the module dungeon is mind-blowing after first week, and you can save your stamina pot to use during those days. And this applies for the casual player as well, because if you don't like refreshing your stamina during the X2, but when the X2 happen, you're gonna feel FOMO because the drop is so fucking good, but now you have the stamina pot to use when the X2 drop event happen. So don't go and rush, use all your stamina pot immediately. You can save that for later. And lastly, it's gonna be about PvP. Yes, the very scary and anxious part of Etheria restart. But trust me, you're gonna be fine. Don't worry. Nobody know who you are. You can lose a game or two. Nobody can, okay? It is totally fine. First, in this game, there's going to be a couple PvP mode that is not really PvP. You're fighting AI control team by the other player. So you are technically fighting another dungeon, another tower mode, another whatever. It is not really a guy over there laughing when you lose. It's just another dungeon run. But now you're fighting the monster. They're not really monster, they are the character they could pull as well, and they can be a bit harder. But a lot of the milestone reward for PvP is simply by doing the PvP. You can lose, you can win, it doesn't fucking matter. You can just do the PvP, get the milestone reward, because the PvP shop in the game is exquisite. Is amazing. The stuff you can buy in there, like the perfect lattice and the progression material, the summon, the shadow print is amazing, and you don't have to win all the time. Just treat it like a very hard tower mode stage that you can beat like half the time. And they give you an option to hit the easier player and ignore the harder player on the list, and you can refresh the list to hit the easier player if you are very anxious about losing. Understandable. I hate losing as well. You can maybe ignore RTA, but at least, please do the normal arena, the arena where you fight the AI control defense, and join a guild to fight in guild battle as well. That I think is going to happen after the first 2 weeks of the game. But the PvP shop in the game is amazing. You can buy so many stuff in there just by participating. I'll be doing so many guides for PvP that's going to make it so much simpler to break down, so you don't have to feel anxious and not knowing what to do. Because when you're fighting an AI control defense, it is like cracking a dungeon. There'll be step-by-step guide from me or the player to beat almost everything in the game. Don't worry about it, because you can build a team to beat them. And you can build the best team, you can build the best counter. It's not going to be about your strategy, your react time. It's just watching a guy and replicate what we do, and you can beat the dungeon to get the most reward as well. And another tip is going to be, please join a guild, like immediately. Okay, because the guild check-in is going to give you free stamina, the guild boss is going to give you more rewards, and the guild PvP is going to be so much fun to do with your guild, discussing strategy, and of course, more free stuff from winning in guild PvP. So join a guild on the Discord server. There are so many guild recruiting. I'm sure you're gonna find one for yourself. And lastly, this is for me personally, okay? You can do this, not my problem, but this is me personally. I am gonna be like a low spender. Can I consider myself a low spender? Would you say $20 to $50 per month on a game is low spending? I'm not too sure, but I will not buy the weekly summon pack, especially for free-to-play player who want to progress. If you want to summon, then buying the weekly summon pack with gem is the way to go. But if you're the kind of guy that want to farm and get good and try hard and be min-maxing stuff, then I would not suggest buying the summon with your gem, because your gem are better used for refreshing and farming and getting stronger gear, so that you can conquer all of the other PvE content in the game to get the most out of the free-to-play offering that they have in all those content. Then when you can beat everything in the game, PvE wise, you're gonna get so much more summon that you would not think much about buying the weekly summon pack. But if you play the game and your goal is to summon as often to not miss out on every unit, then you buy the weekly summon pack, okay? And that is pretty much for me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so sorry this is a war of text and yeah, there's no gameplay. But if you have any other question, I'm pretty sure I answered in all the video on the channel. And I'm so excited for the global launch. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.